Today, we dive into a mind-blowing idea that could have transformed the face of the Earth: plans to drain the Mediterranean Sea. Are you ready to journey into a world where continents merge, energy crises are solved, and new lands appear? Stay with us as we unravel the ambitious Atlantropa project, a massive engineering endeavor that looked to reshape the world as we know it. Let's dive into the unbelievable story of Atlantropa. Imagine a world where Europe and Africa are connected by vast stretches of new land, where energy shortages are a thing of the past, and where the Mediterranean Sea as we know it is forever changed. This was the vision of Hermann Sorgel, a German architect and engineer who, in the 1920s, dreamed up a project so ambitious and unprecedented that it would go down in history as one of the most daring engineering ideas ever conceived. Sorgel was inspired by the rapid technological advancement of his time and the belief that humanity could harness the power of nature to create a better future. He looked at the Mediterranean Sea, a body of water that separated continents and cultures, and wondered, what if we could transform this vast expanse into an engine of progress and unity? And so, the Atlantropa project was born. Atlantropa aimed to address three major challenges facing the world at the time: overpopulation, the need for new living spaces, and the growing demand for energy. To tackle these problems, Sorgel proposed a series of massive engineering projects that would ultimately lead to the partial draining of the Mediterranean Sea, unlocking the untold potential of mankind. So, how did Sorgel propose to drain the Mediterranean Sea? First of all, his plan considered the fact that the Mediterranean Sea naturally loses more water to evaporation than it gets from rivers and streams. Salt water flows into the sea through the Strait of Gibraltar to make up the difference. In theory, if this flow of water through the Straits of Gibraltar could be stopped, you could start to drain the sea through evaporation. Sorgel also intended to build 5 colossal dams, each conceived to reshape the Mediterranean and harness its resources in unprecedented ways. Firstly, the Gibraltar Dam, a mammoth structure that would stretch 9 miles across the Straits of Gibraltar, connecting Europe and Africa and permanently altering the Mediterranean's landscape. This immense dam would not only create a land bridge between the two continents, but also function as a hydroelectric power plant, generating copious amounts of clean, renewable energy. It is estimated that around 50,000 cubic meters of water per second would flow through the Gibraltar Dam, generating around 88.11 gigawatts of power, which is the equivalent of 42 Hoover dams. As the sea started to evaporate, vast new land masses, territories for agriculture, and new living spaces for millions of people would begin to be uncovered. To speed up the process, hundreds of the world's largest pumps would be needed to pump out trillions of gallons of water, a task that, even with today's advanced technology, might take decades to lower the sea level by 200 meters. He also proposed to create channels and pump water into the Sahara Desert to create an artificial sea. Additional secondary dams and canals would also be constructed to control and redirect water flow throughout the Mediterranean basin. These structures would encompass the Dam of Suez, which would prevent the Red Sea's waters from flooding the diminishing Mediterranean, and the establishment of an extensive navigable canal system connecting the newly formed regions to ease trade and transportation. First, the Dardanelles Strait Dam, spanning 5 miles, would regulate water flow between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean, connecting European and Asian Turkey. This dam would process 10,000 cubic meters of water per second, which could generate nearly 1,000 megawatts of electricity to power up to 1 million homes. Second, the Sicily-Tunisia Dam, a truly colossal structure stretching over 90 miles, generating an estimated 500 gigawatts of power, equivalent to the output of 500 nuclear reactors. This dam would also play a critical role in controlling the water level of the Mediterranean. The third and final dam would span the short distance of the Strait of Messina Dam, linking Sicily to the Italian mainland, spanning around 2 miles. These 3 dams would embody the foundation of Sorgel's vision, creating an interconnected network of energy generation and connectivity throughout the Mediterranean. These dams would partition the Mediterranean into 2 parts. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the Elantropa project, please take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Together, the dams could have made enough clean hydroelectric power for all of Europe, and the project would have employed hundreds of thousands of people for the 100 years that the project was supposed to last. By reducing the Mediterranean sea level by up to 200 meters, the project would uncover vast areas of new land for agriculture, human settlement, and industry. This reclaimed land was expected to supply food, space, and resources for Europe's burgeoning population, helping to ease overcrowding and creating economic growth. One of the most consequential alterations to the region would be the unification of the Adriatic Sea and the Po Valley, creating a fertile plain. This merger would result in approximately 50,000 square kilometers, 19,000 square miles, of newly arable land. Sorgel envisioned Elantropa as a solution to the geopolitical conflicts that had afflicted Europe for centuries. It's ironic that the project was shelved because of World War II. He tried to revive the project after the war, and many companies were interested in his plans, mainly because they would greatly profit from it. He claimed that the project's influence on the climate would be exclusively positive, and that the climate might be changed for the better as far away as the British Isles and most of Northern Europe due to a more efficient Gulf Stream, which would result in milder winters. The initiative also vowed to reshape Africa, augmenting its agricultural and economic potential. Hundreds of desalination plants would have been built across the coast of Tunisia and Morocco, powered by the electricity generated by the dams, to produce fresh water that could be pumped into the arid regions of North Africa and the Sahara Desert, transforming them into a verdant, productive landscape spanning 9 million square kilometers, 3.5 million square miles. Desalination plants would also be complemented by diverting waters from various rivers away from the Mediterranean to help irrigate the Sahara Desert. As futuristic and ambitious as Elantropa may appear, it is crucial to acknowledge that every revolutionary idea faces challenges and criticism. Balancing the potential benefits against the environmental, social, and political ramifications is essential when assessing the viability of such a grand undertaking. So, why did this project not go ahead? As with any grand endeavor, the Elantropa project faced lots of criticism and challenges. The most significant concerns were the ecological, political, and economic implications of such a massive undertaking. The project would have a profound and irreversible impact on the environment. Draining the Mediterranean Sea and lowering its level by up to 200 meters would require removing around 2.7 trillion cubic meters of water, which even with the world's highest capacity pumps could take several decades, if not centuries. This enormous volume of water would be pumped into the world's seas, since it has to go someplace. It would result in an increase in sea levels of between 5 and 10 meters, which would be disastrous and result in cities like New Orleans, New York City, Amsterdam, and Shanghai being totally submerged. This process would lead to the destruction of countless ecosystems, the displacement of marine life, and changes in the climate, particularly in the surrounding regions. The project could also alter global ocean currents, with unforeseeable consequences for the Earth's climate as a whole. The balance between evaporation and rainfall in the Mediterranean region would need to be carefully managed. By lowering the sea level, the project would expose large areas of the seafloor, potentially increasing evaporation rates and altering local climate patterns. This, in turn, could affect the region's precipitation levels, with consequences for agriculture and water supply. The Straits of Gibraltar are nearly 3,000 feet deep, and the amount of materials required just to build this dam are monumental. This dam would have to be strong enough to hold back the Atlantic Ocean, and if the dam failed, it's safe to say that the resulting tsunami would be catastrophic and would likely rip through the surrounding regions, destroy coastal cities, and kill millions. A drained Mediterranean Sea would reveal vast expanses of previously submerged land that would be all salt flats and unusable for cultivation. The salt that used to be in the water in the Mediterranean would linger on the exposed soil in thick, built-up layers long after the water had dried up, and the viability of the exposed seafloor as arable land would depend on the composition of the soil, which might require significant efforts to rehabilitate and cultivate. The whole region that used to be the sea will probably turn into the largest, hottest desert on the planet. Massive canyons that were once the deepest part of the Mediterranean, like the Calypso Deep found in the Ionian Sea to the southwest of Greece, which has a maximum depth of about 5,267 meters below sea level, would be very hot, upwards of 80 degrees Celsius, 176 degrees Fahrenheit. For contrast, Death Valley, California, which holds the record for the highest temperature ever recorded in the United States, reaches 56.7 degrees Celsius, 134 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the highest ever recorded on Earth's surface. The conditions of the exposed land would be very unfavorable for any kind of life or settlement to exist, which would be a salty, dry, and intensely hot desert. It nearly seems like an expansion of Africa's Sahara Desert. Yet the desert wouldn't simply stop here. It would quickly spread over most of southern Europe and Turkey, with Portugal, Spain, France, Italy, Greece, and Turkey suffering the worst. As a consequence, there would be much less rainfall over the whole Balkan and Alpine areas, which would seriously harm agriculture throughout the majority of Europe. Blocking or diverting the rivers that flow into the Mediterranean Sea would be another complex challenge. Such a feat would require extensive engineering works and careful management of water resources to prevent devastating impacts on ecosystems and human populations that rely on these rivers. The coastal towns and cities of the 21 countries that surround the Mediterranean Sea would face significant changes as the lowering of the sea level altered their relationship with the sea. Some areas would lose their status as ports or seaside resorts. Economically, the project's staggering cost was another significant hurdle. While it's difficult to estimate an exact figure, given the scale of the Elantropa project, the construction of multiple colossal dams and related infrastructure would likely reach into the trillions of dollars. The dam between Sicily and Tunisia would have needed between 20 and 40 billion cubic meters of concrete, which would cost a staggering $4 trillion and weigh up to 105 billion tons. Other economic impacts would be to shipping, since approximately 300 ships cross the strait every day, about one ship every 5 minutes. Also considering that shipping would need to travel over 5,000 miles around Africa to reach Asia as opposed to using the Suez Canal. Given the limited resources and technology of the time, it is unlikely such a project could have been successfully completed without bankrupting the countries involved. The Elantropa project presented a bold vision for the future, but the ecological, political, and economic challenges it posed were monumental. Balancing the potential benefits against these challenges is essential when assessing the viability of such a grand undertaking. Though the Elantropa project never came to fruition, it is a testament to human ingenuity and ambition. The project stands as a reminder of the power of visionary thinking and the desire to reshape the world for the better. Even though the Elantropa project has been shelved, there have even been plans to build a bridge across the straits, but that would involve building bridge supports taller than the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. Even if it were possible to build such bridge supports, another serious problem would be natural disasters, strong currents, and potential collisions with ships. The idea of building a tunnel under the Strait of Gibraltar has been discussed for over 150 years. While the English Channel Tunnel is over 3 times longer than the distance across the strait, the challenges of constructing a tunnel here have been significant. In the 1930s, Spain revived the idea of a tunnel, but the hard rocks at the base of the strait made it clear that it would be too difficult to dig. One of the major obstacles to building a tunnel under the Strait of Gibraltar is the depth of the strait, particularly near the Rock of Gibraltar, where it is approximately 3,000 feet deep. This is deeper than any tunnel that has been built before. Despite these challenges, Spain continued to pursue the project, and in 1979, a joint committee was formed with Morocco to explore the possibility of a new tunnel project. During the research phase, it became clear that there were added complications that the builders would face. The strait lies at the boundary of the African and Eurasian tectonic plates, creating a significant seismic risk. Despite these challenges, the project continued for 40 years. However, the construction of two parts of the tunnel collapsed, and the difficulties with maintenance ultimately forced the project to be abandoned. We hope you enjoyed diving into the fascinating world of the Atlantropa project with us. What are your thoughts on this ambitious plan? Would you support an endeavor like Atlantropa today? Comment below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories and thought-provoking content.